President Biden's choice to be the new Deputy Secretary of Education is San Diego School Superintendent Cindy Martin, who hosted diversity training for white teachers, featuring a speaker who accused public schools of spirit murdering black children. Let's bring in Fox News contributors Leslie Marshall and Joe Concha, and author of Hate Crime Hoax, Wilfred Riley, also a professor. Good to have you all with us tonight.
Good to be here.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Okay, so Christopher Rufo has been tweeting about what's going on out there in her school district. And on January 6th, he talked about somebody that she had in. This is critical race theorist Bettina Love. He says, according to a whistleblower, because they weren't allowed to record this thing, Love began by saying that racism runs deep in America and that blacks alone know who America really is. Love claimed that public schools don't see blacks as human. They perpetuate anti-blackness and spirit murder babies. Wilfred.
Well, I mean, you obviously want a little more context than Twitter can provide, but those are, to say the least, very bizarre comments. I teach in a very integrated educational environment. I don't think I spirit murder my Caucasian students. I don't think my white colleagues spirit murder African-American students under their care and tutelage. So, I mean, offhand, that sounds nonsensical, a bit over the woke line, perchance.
So, supposedly this is somebody that the San Diego superintendent, Cindy Martin, who is now a Biden nominee, hosted there. So maybe she'll get questions about that. Radicals in the classroom, Christopher Rufo writes this. He says, according to standardized test scores, only 37% of San Diego's fourth graders are proficient in reading and only 42% are proficient in math. Black and Latino students perform substantially worse. The language of spirit murder and abolition might make for an emotionally charged Zoom presentation, but it won't do anything to help struggling students. Leslie.
Taking it in context, I'm so glad that that was mentioned, because quite frankly, this was after the murder of George Floyd. This was a diversity training session in which they had numerous speakers. Ms. Love was not the only one. Ms. Love actually has been asked about that comment, and what she talked about is breaking down the spirit of African Americans, but also Latinos and other children of color with racism at the base over time, in reference to systemic racism. And also looking at the stats in San Diego, the second largest school district in the state that I'm in California, the graduation rate under this woman that Joe Biden, wants on his team, President Biden wants on his team, has actually increased. And that is a good thing if you're looking at the overall numbers.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, is there a place for these conversations to talk about difficult subjects, to talk about things that are controversial, even in the schools and different school levels where they obviously need help with some of the basic educational requirements, but this goes beyond that, to treating the students as a whole and seeing them as people?
As a parent, I'm scared, Shannon. I got to be honest with you. I got a 5- and a 7-year-old, 5-year-old son, 7-year-old girl, and I want them to learn the basics. I want them to be better than 37% proficient in math and 42% in reading. They need to do better at those certain things and then learn things about, as they get older, as they get into high school, about how to manage credit or how to manage their checkbook or how to actually explore the real world and navigate the real world. And when we're talking about racism so much in the classroom, I get it that it should be part of the curriculum because it's part of our history, but it has to be a small part of it. And those basic training skills in terms of that narrative needs to be explained in the home from parents to kids, not teachers to kids. I don't think that's the place for it predominantly. I think that's something that should be the values of your home, and you teach it to your kids, and let's concentrate more on the things that educate them to get them better in life and to get them better jobs in the future, not this sort of thing so much. But that's just my personal feeling as a parent.
If I could say one thing very quickly here, I'd also be very interested. Yeah, sorry. I'd also be very interested in, I don't think there's much, if any, connection between the conversation about spirit murder and performance on math tests. I'd be very curious about how, say, Asian and Nigerian students are doing in these classrooms. We need to focus on basics as much as we can, especially in the tougher districts where more work needs to be done.
There is plenty of work to be done in our education system across the country. Wilfred, Leslie, and Joe, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.